My name is Evelyn, and at 32, I never imagined that Christmas night would feel like a battlefield. I returned from a deployment accident, broken in body but alive in spirit, expecting my family to finally see my worth. Instead, the moment I stepped through the front door, Catherine's eyes cut through me like icy knives. "Get out of my house, you useless one," she snapped. Before I could react, Chloe shoved me with brutal force toward the door. I slipped on the icy steps, and my arm snapped with a sharp, sickening crack. Pain exploded through me, radiating like wildfire, but the room remained still. Michael, Catherine, no one moved. They just watched as I lay there, the door slamming shut behind them. Clutching my throbbing arm, frozen and bleeding, I dragged myself to the bus station in the pitch-black night, heading toward my grandmother Margaret's horse ranch in rural Montana. Those 5 cruel words didn't break me. They ignited a fire. From that moment, I promised myself that betrayal would not go unanswered. Those who hurt me would pay in ways they never imagined. 6 months later, my phone rang. Catherine's trembling voice broke through the silence. "Save your sister's company." I tightened my grip on the phone, the corners of my lips curling into a slow, cold smile. This time, I would choose the terms. This time, they would remember me. Growing up under Catherine's roof had been a constant test. Her love was conditional, always measured. "I bought you that backpack, so you better ace your test this quarter," she would say. Or, "After all I've sacrificed, the least you can do is scrub the kitchen spotless." Nothing was free. Everything was a transaction. My father left when I was 6. My memories of him were faint, moments of calm, bedtime games, but they blurred over time. Catherine filled the void with critique. "You have his weak posture," she'd scoff, "always slouching through life." The comparison haunted me, shaping my every movement, every word, every choice. The only refuge was my grandmother Margaret. Her Montana ranch became my sanctuary, a place of quiet and simple truths. Summers were spent tending horses, making fruit preserves, and listening as Margaret recounted her life stories on the porch. "Evelyn," she'd say while we groomed the stalls, "resilience is your shield. Keep it safe when life turns cruel." I clung to her words as Catherine's moods grew more unpredictable. Chloe and Michael learned to navigate Catherine's rules expertly. Michael, 2 years younger, became a chameleon, adapting to whatever pleased Catherine. Chloe, 4 years my junior, mastered flattery, delivering compliments with precise timing. I, however, remained defiant, the one labeled problematic, the one who questioned too much, the one who demanded more than was deemed reasonable. By 18, I knew I had to escape. The Army promised freedom, purpose, and, perhaps, a chance to earn Catherine's respect. When I announced my enlistment, I caught a glimmer of approval in her eyes. "The service will straighten you out," she remarked, words heavy with omission. But my commitment also opened financial doors for her. As I prepared for basic training, Catherine casually mentioned how tight money was, how difficult it was to raise 3 children alone, how the roof leaked. I pledged my first pay to support them, convinced that family came first. Right from the recruiter's desk, I calculated what I could give without losing myself. Basic training was grueling, but fair. The rules made sense. Push, obey, aid your squad, advance. No surprises, no arbitrary punishments, just effort and results. I excelled, finishing near the top, feeling a satisfaction I never knew under Catherine's unpredictable standards. During my first deployment, I arranged a monthly automatic transfer of $500 home. The sacrifice cut deep into my pay, but it felt right. Sparse calls revealed Catherine's satisfaction. "The community admires your uniform," she once said, voice soft yet proud. I listened silently, knowing the deeper currents, how my service sustained more than just my sense of duty. Every hardship endured, every dollar sent, every command followed became part of a silent rebellion. Catherine's expectations no longer controlled me. I met them on my own terms while silently gathering the tools of my eventual reckoning. "I parade your pictures, my daughter defending the nation." Those words haunted me in the quietest, loneliest nights abroad, echoing through uncertainty and isolation. Catherine's rare pride became my fuel. I had finally achieved something that couldn't be criticized. But the more I gave, the higher her demands climbed. The leaky roof became a garage overhaul. Chloe's tuition needed covering. Michael lost his job and came home. Each time I increased the transfers, took extra duties, volunteered for dangerous posts with bonus pay. Leave visits offered little relief. Catherine greeted me with repair lists or social obligations, yet flickers of affection appeared, a cake topped just how I liked it, a stack of military news articles mentioning feats of my unit, a fleeting hug at the airport. I clung to those moments like treasures, proof that deep down, she cared. I just had to push further, give more, be better. Margaret saw it clearly on my ranch trips, despite Catherine's endless complaints. "Evelyn, affection shouldn't demand this much effort," she said quietly while we walked the pastures. "You cannot purchase genuine care, and if you could, it would never hold value." I nodded, but her words didn't sink in. My path was locked. Serve, send money, and maybe one day it would be enough. One day, I'd return to the family I had always longed for. That vision drove me through a decade of relentless service, multiple tours, and the loss of comrades whose faces haunted my dreams. I fought not just for my country, but for the love I believed waited at home. How blind I had been. Army life reshaped me from the first day. Rules replaced Catherine's chaos with order. Dawn runs burned muscles until they ached, nights blurred with tactical studies. Instructors noticed, and I graduated among the top of my class. Deployments were brutal, dust-choked outposts where survival meant trusting my unit like blood. I set up a $500 monthly transfer home, a lifeline for Catherine, Michael, and Chloe. Base life minimized costs, and I justified the sacrifice. Family supports, family. Catherine's calls came rarely, but they were warm when the money landed. "Your service makes us proud," she said, voice softer than I'd ever known. "I show everyone your uniform pictures." Those words kept me alive through endless shifts, sleepless nights, and hostile conditions, convincing me that maybe I was finally earning her respect. But demands escalated. $500 became $600 for car repairs, $700 for Chloe's college books, $800 when Michael lost work, forcing me into extra patrols with hazard pay. I never questioned it. Each dollar was a step closer to the family love I'd chased since childhood. Leave visits revealed the truth. Catherine's warmth faded in person, replaced with task lists and social events. Tiny gestures, a pie I liked, a brief nod, kept hope alive. I just needed to give more. Margaret warned during my ranch trips, eyes sharp under Montana skies. "You're buying affection, Evelyn. Anything with a price is never real." I dismissed her, too determined to listen. Patricia, a soldier I trusted, echoed the warning during a base call. "They're using you. Stop giving so much." But I clung to the dream of a family that cared. My unit became my true family. Comrades shared meals, fears, victories. Promotions were celebrated together, losses mourned. That bond carried me through sandstorms and gunfire, convincing me I was also building something at home. Catherine's letters shortened. Calls grew scarce, yet I continued sending money, believing it would bridge the distance. Each deployment pushed me further, forced me into riskier assignments, all under the illusion that one more check would make me enough. But it was a lie I told myself to survive. The truth waited silently to strike. The final deployment was meant to be routine. Escorting supply trucks through a quiet zone, I joked with a new recruit about staying sharp. Then the truck ahead swerved, metal screamed, and I was hurled forward. Waking in a field hospital, my right leg radiated with nerve pain, my femur shattered. The doctor's words cut clean. I'd survive, but my military career was over. Months of surgeries and grueling therapy followed, teaching me to walk with a cane while painkillers barely dulled the relentless ache. The hardest part wasn't the broken bones. It was losing my purpose, my unit, the only place I truly belonged. Catherine called often during those hospital days, her voice softer than I'd ever heard, offering promises I clung to like lifelines. "We're fixing up your old room," she said once. "You'll have space to recover. The church group's planning meals for our wounded hero," she added later. I imagined a homecoming where I'd finally feel wanted. A family dinner with me at the center, Catherine guiding my exercises. Genuine connection at last. That fragile hope carried me through the grueling journey home. The military arranged transport to the airport, but from there, I was alone. Each step on the cane sent jagged pain shooting through my leg. Navigating the crowded, holiday chaotic terminals drained me, but as the plane descended into Montana's snowy expanse, I allowed myself a flicker of belonging. I was returning not just to a place, but to a family. Or so I thought. The moment I landed, my phone showed no messages, no missed calls checking on me. I dialed Catherine. "Just got in," I said, voice tight. Her response was flat. "Oh, today we're swamped with Christmas prep. Can you grab a cab?" The ride to the suburban house cost nearly $80, a sting with my funds running thin. The house gleamed with festive lights, a giant wreath on the door, and a glowing reindeer display. Catherine loved showing off to neighbors. I struggled up the icy path with my duffel, leaning hard on my cane, sweat soaking through despite the cold. No one came out to help. At the door, I hesitated, uncertain whether to knock or enter. Catherine swung it open before I could decide, irritation etched across her face. "You're letting the cold in," she snapped, turning away. The house smelled of cinnamon and pine, but the warmth I'd imagined was gone. "You can use your old room," she said without looking back. "It's a storage space now, but Michael set up an air mattress." I limped upstairs, every step jolting pain through my leg. The room was unrecognizable. Boxes, old furniture, clutter replacing childhood memories. A half-inflated air mattress sagged in the corner, a thin blanket thrown over it. I sat, the mattress creaking under me, my heart sinking. 10 years of service, thousands of dollars sent home, and this was my return. I pushed down the hurt, telling myself they'd warm up once the holiday rush settled. But deep down, the truth seeped in. This wasn't the home I had dreamed of. By evening, the house buzzed with relatives for Christmas dinner. Aunts, uncles, cousins filling the rooms, chatter loud with job updates and holiday plans. I stayed in a corner, my leg throbbing, struggling to follow their quick exchanges. My cane leaned awkwardly against the chair, drawing glances but few words. I felt invisible, a ghost amid the noise. Catherine called everyone to the dining room. The table gleamed with her best china, a centerpiece sparkling with ornaments. She pointed me to a cramped seat at the end, wedged against the wall. "Your cane won't trip anyone there," she said sharply, her tone slicing through me. I maneuvered into the chair, legs stiff, every motion watched by relatives who quickly looked away. Dinner began with a brief prayer, no mention of my service or sacrifices. Conversation swirled around promotions and new cars, Catherine beaming as cousins shared victories. I tried to join in. "My unit rebuilt a clinic last tour," I started, but Michael cut me off. "Pass the potatoes," he said, eyes glued to his plate. Each attempt to speak was drowned out. Catherine steered the conversation elsewhere with pointed questions. Tension built until dessert. A sharp spasm tore through my leg, and I flinched, knocking over a glass of water. Catherine's face hardened. "You can't even sit through a meal," she spat. "You're useless, a burden dragging us down. Get out of my house." The room fell silent. Before I could react, Chloe stood, expression icy. She grabbed my arm and shoved me toward the door. I stumbled on the icy steps outside, falling hard. My right arm snapped under me, pain igniting through my body. I looked back, expecting help. None came. Michael stared at his plate. Catherine turned away, and the door slammed shut. The cold bit into my skin as I lay there, arm useless, leg screaming. I forced myself upright, gripping my cane, and limped toward the street, every step a reminder of betrayal. No hotel was near, and my bank balance barely topped $200 after the cab. A passing driver slowed, an older man with kind eyes. "You okay, miss?" he asked. "I need the bus station," I managed, voice shaky. He drove me there, sharing quiet stories of his own lonely holidays, refusing my insistence to pay. At the station, a late-night bus was leaving for the town near Margaret's ranch. A clerk, noticing my struggle, helped me board. As the bus cut through the snowy darkness, I cradled my arm, pain and betrayal mingling. My unit had been my true family, meals shared, lives covered, losses mourned together. Catherine, Michael, Chloe. They had taken my money for years, but offered nothing when I needed them most. Their rejection stung sharper than the fall. The army had forged my strength, yet this night tested it to its limits. I didn't know what awaited at Margaret's, but I had nowhere else to turn. The bus dropped me at a tiny Montana station just before midnight. My arm throbbed in its makeshift sling, my leg burned with every step, and my duffel dragged behind me like a weight of despair. The 5-mile trek to Margaret's horse ranch seemed impossible. A station worker, seeing my struggle, called a local driver, Harold, who was headed that way. He loaded me into his truck, speaking with quiet respect about my service, respect I had not received from the family I had left behind. His headlights illuminated the gravel road to the ranch, where a single kitchen light glowed like a beacon. I thanked him, insisting I'd manage alone, though doubt gnawed at me. The porch steps loomed like cliffs, sweat stinging my eyes as I leaned on my cane, pain radiating with each pulse. I knocked sharply. Silence. Panic gripped me. Maybe Margaret had left. Maybe she too had turned away. I knocked again, harder. Footsteps shuffled inside, and the door cracked open. Margaret stood there, silver hair loose, her face stern behind reading glasses. "Go away," she said, voice like ice. "Your mother called. You've caused enough trouble." My heart shattered, deeper than the fall. But then her expression changed. Shock, then fierce warmth. "Evelyn, oh God, I'm sorry," she gasped, catching me before I collapsed. "It was a test. I had to see you myself. Catherine lied, said you'd gone violent, stolen from her." She pulled me into a tight embrace, mindful of my injuries, and helped me inside. On her worn couch, I poured out everything. The cruel dinner, Catherine's cutting words, Chloe's shove, the fall, Michael's silence. Margaret's face darkened with anger. "My own daughter," she muttered. "I've never been so ashamed." She handed me water and painkillers, reading my tension. "Let's get you to bed," she said firmly. "We'll sort this tomorrow." Her guest room became sanctuary. Photos of me in uniform on the dresser, a quilt in my favorite colors. Unlike Catherine's storage dump, this room held proof that I belonged. Margaret stayed nearby, humming a familiar childhood tune as I drifted into a fragile sleep. The following weeks at the ranch marked the start of my healing. Margaret drove me to a local doctor who adjusted my therapy plan. The arm cast came off in 6 weeks, but nerve pain lingered in my leg. I leaned on Margaret's strength, her community stepping in. Neighbors cleared paths for my cane, church friends delivered meals. Patricia called often, sharing her own story of betrayal and recovery. "They don't deserve you," she said on video chat, steady and unwavering. "Focus on those who lift you up." Meanwhile, Margaret uncovered Catherine's deception through my old bank statements. The thousands I'd sent for repairs or Chloe's tuition had funded Catherine's lavish trips and furniture, never touching the house or family needs. The betrayal cut deep, but Margaret's rage matched mine. "She should have protected you," she said, sorting the papers at her kitchen table. To cope, I threw myself into ranch work. I couldn't ride yet, but I learned feeding schedules, managed old ledgers, and cared for the animals whose trust became a quiet solace. Patricia's calls grounded me. Her stories mirrored my own path from rejection to rebuilding. Slowly, I felt strength returning, not just in my body, but in my sense of self. Margaret's unwavering support revealed what family could truly be, showing me a future beyond the pain Catherine and the others had inflicted. 6 months after that brutal Christmas night, I had built a new rhythm at Margaret's horse ranch. My phone rang one crisp Montana afternoon. While I was buried in updating the stable records, Catherine's name flashed across the screen, the first contact since she'd thrown me out into the icy night. My healed arm tensed as I hesitated. Then I answered. Her voice was taut, not with regret, but with urgent need. "Chloe's company is failing," she blurted. "She mismanaged funds, creditors are circling. You've got your veteran benefits. Help her. It's family." I stared out over the snow-dusted horizon, the words "useless one," and Chloe's shove replaying like daggers in my mind. "I don't have a sister," I said coldly, voice steady, and hung up. That was the end. No second chances, no explanations. A decade of my earnings, my health, my sacrifices, returned with nothing but slammed doors and broken bones. I was done. Catherine's world crumbled soon after. Neighbors later told Margaret how Catherine's lavish spending, vacations, new cars, all fueled by my transfers, finally caught up to her. Without my money, her debts mounted. The bank foreclosed on her house, forcing her into a cramped rental. Chloe's startup, propped by my cash, collapsed under reckless decisions. She lost everything, filed for unemployment, and took a low-wage job just to survive. Michael, reliant on handouts for years, sank into credit card debt. His credit score tanked, cutting him off from loans or stable housing. Their downfall wasn't my doing. It was the natural consequence of greed and betrayal, a reality too common in families stretched thin by lies. Meanwhile, at the ranch, I found solid ground. Margaret taught me the business of horses, from breeding schedules to market sales. My legs still throbbed on cold mornings, but therapy and ranch labor rebuilt my strength. Patricia stayed close, her calls a lifeline. She had faced similar family rejection and rebuilt herself, urging me to do the same. "You're worth more than their demands," she said in one late-night video chat. "Surround yourself with those who see it." Margaret and Patricia became my true family, bound not by blood, but by unwavering support. I enrolled in online agriculture courses, using my veteran benefits to plan a future in ranching. The horses, with their quiet trust, grounded me in ways Catherine never could. One evening, as Margaret and I watched the sunset over the snowy fields, I reflected on the past year. I had arrived broken, believing I needed Catherine's approval to be whole. Now, I stood taller, not despite my cane, but because of it. I'd learned family isn't defined by shared names. It's defined by who lifts you when you fall. Catherine, Chloe, and Michael had spat back everything I sacrificed. Cutting them off, it wasn't revenge, it was self-respect. I had chased their love for years, but real love doesn't demand payment. It builds you up, like Margaret's steady presence or Patricia's honest counsel. That lesson, forged in pain and clarity, was my greatest gain. If you've ever severed ties to reclaim your strength, share your story below. It could help someone realize they are enough.